Okay, we all know AI is making critical decisions every single second. So a legal challenge? That's not an if, it's a when. The real question is, when that day comes, is your AI going to be legally survivable? Let's break down how to build an AI that your lawyers, won't be terrified of.
This whole thing really starts with a simple, real-world example. A few years back, Whole Foods got a pretty serious warning from the FDA. And why? Well, they kept mislabeling products. In one case, it was a minestrone soup that had dairy in it, but the label didn't say so. It seems like a small error, right? But the consequences can be massive.
And that right there is the heart of what we're talking about. I mean, if the stakes are that high for a simple soup label, just imagine the fallout when an AI makes a critical mistake. We're talking about AI used in finance, in healthcare, in legal fields. The consequences are enormous. So the question becomes, how do you build a system that can actually survive the legal storm that is absolutely going to come its way?
To build a solid defense, we first have to understand what we're up against. So let's start by prying open that infamous AI black box to really get a handle on the two big risks that make these systems so tricky from a legal and compliance standpoint.
Okay, so the first major risk has this kind of dramatic name, hallucination. And really, it's just what it sounds like. It's where the AI, with 100% confidence, just makes stuff up. It spits out answers that sound totally plausible, but are just factually wrong or completely disconnected from reality. Just look at this example. It is a perfect, and I mean perfect, hallucination. It sounds so specific, right? So historical, you might actually believe it. But here's the kicker. There's never, ever been a Parisian tiger. The AI just invented it, confidently and completely out of thin air. The second risk is that classic black box problem. See, you can ask an AI to explain its reasoning, and it'll give you an answer that sounds perfectly logical, coherent. But that explanation, it might just be another made-up story. It's plausible, but it's not a faithful account of how it actually got to its decision. And for legal defensibility, you have to know not just what it decided, but exactly, faithfully, how it decided.
So, knowing about these risks, hallucinations, unfaithful explanations, how do we even begin to build a defense? Well, it all starts with being proactive. You can't just sit around and wait for something to break. You have to stress test the entire system long before it ever sees the light of day.
A huge strategy here is something called AI red teaming. Now think of it like hiring a team of ethical hackers, but for your AI. A red team's entire job is to attack the model, to find its blind spots, to trick it into making mistakes, and to sniff out every single vulnerability before a real bad guy, or a lawsuit does.
And this process is really systematic. First, you ground the AI. You use a technique like retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, which basically forces the AI to cite its sources. It can only pull answers from a trusted library of documents, not the wild west of the open internet. Then, you unleash the red team to hammer on it. And finally, you take everything you learned and you fine-tune the model. It's almost like you're vaccinating it against the very weaknesses you just found.
But look, a proactive defense, as essential as it is really just the first layer. It's not enough by itself. You also need real-time checks and balances for when the AI is live. Think of it as a quality control assembly line for every single answer the AI produces.
And that's where guardrails come in. Here's how they work. When the AI generates an answer, it doesn't go straight to the user. No. First, it has to pass through this guardrail system. In just milliseconds, the system scores the output against key metrics like groundedness. Is this based on our trusted sources? And relevance. If it passes, great, the user gets the answer. If it fails, the response gets blocked. It's an automated safety net happening in real time.
And these guardrails aren't just some theory. They are real tools you can get today from big players like AWS and NVIDIA. And if you look at the numbers, you can see the trade-offs. We're talking about accuracy rates well over 90% in catching bad answers, with a latency of less than a quarter of a second. That is incredibly fast for a real-time safety check.
Okay, but let's be realistic. Even with the best proactive defenses and the best real-time guardrails, something might still go wrong. Or maybe an auditor or the opposing counsel in a lawsuit comes knocking. When they do, you better be able to prove exactly what happened and why.
This is where you need tools to basically interrogate the AI's logic after the fact. And one of the most powerful tools for this is the counterfactual explanation. It lets you go back to a specific decision the AI made and ask a what-if question. Hey, if this one little input had been different, how would the outcome have changed?
It's a vital tool for pinpointing the exact cause of a mistake or for defending a decision that was actually correct. And this is so important because, frankly, the industry has a really long way to go. Research shows that right now, only about 19% of commercial AI systems give you the kind of detailed audit trails you need for real legal defensibility. That is a massive, massive gap.
To close that gap, what you really need is something we can call an audit trace. This dashboard here is a great way to picture it. It represents a complete, unchangeable record of every question asked, the source data the AI looked at, the guardrails scores, and the final answer it gave. This is the hard evidence, the verifiable proof you need to show what the AI knew and when it knew it, and that's the key to surviving an audit or winning a lawsuit.
So when you start combining all these strategies, that proactive defense, the real-time guardrails, and that rock-solid audit trail, you get something totally new. You get a system that's built from the ground up for legal and regulatory survival. So here it is, the whole framework, all the layers working together. You defend proactively with red teaming, you protect in real time with guardrails, and you prepare for any and all scrutiny with a complete audit trail. Altogether, these layers create a system of what we call explainable AI, where you can actually understand the why behind any decision. At the end of the day, the big takeaway is this. The risks of AI are very, very real, but they are absolutely manageable. Having a systematic game plan for governance, compliance, and defensibility is what turns AI from a source of legal anxiety into a robust, trustworthy, and legally survivable tool.
And that leaves us with one final thought. An audit is coming. A legal challenge is coming. The only question is, when it does, will your AI be ready?